party people. Welcome once again to the Party of One podcast, where the gaming table is always set for two. I am your host, as always, Jeff Stormer. This week I am joined by Mitchell Dill for a game of Don't Rest Your Head by Fred Hicks. Mitchell is a very talented musician, one of the hosts of All Along the Watchtower, a DC Animated Universe rewatch podcast on the Audio Entropy Network, and one of the players on Roll for Your Lives, a phenomenal, wonderful actual play podcast that you should check out right now. Links to all of these things can be found in the show notes. Don't Rest Your Head is weird as hell, and I love it. It is a game about insomniacs wandering the Mad City, this endless, surreal cityscape, which spans all of time and creation. Their condition grants them superpowers, but every time they use those superpowers, they get closer to falling asleep and succumbing to the supernatural horrors that lurk the Mad City. It's a little bit Dark City, a little bit Inception, a little bit Doom Patrol, and I flipping love it. A link to the game can be found in the show notes. Before we get started, a special thank you to Chloe Wandler, our newest backer on Patreon. If you haven't checked out the Party of One Patreon, now is a great time to do so. We've just revised our stretch goals and backer levels. For just $2 a month, you help support the show's equipment costs, hosting fees, and con appearances, and you get access to bonus material every single episode. For just $5 a month, you get access to a weekly bonus cast, Party of One Do-It Designer's Notes, where I explore the process of hacking group-based games into a two-player format. And for $10 a month, you get access to Duets on Duets, which are special interviews with game designers, GMs of Duet games, players of Duet games, and other cool people to talk about the experience of playing a game with just one other person. You can check all of that out at patreon.com/partyofonepodcast. And with all that out of the way, let me throw it over to me in the past so he can get started with the show. Take it past me. Thanks, future me. This week I'm joined by Mitchell Dill. Mitchell, thanks for coming on Party of One.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jeff.
So, real quick at the top of the show, why don't you talk about anything you might want the audience at home to know about, any projects you might be working on, anything you would like to promote, all that good stuff.
Okay, so I am on a weekly podcast called All Along the Watchtower. It's a DCAU, the DC Animated Universe, like old Batman, old Superman, even Batman Beyond, Static Shock, the whole crew's there, the Justice League. And that's a podcast that's based around me and three other co-hosts, just rewatching that whole dealio, Bruce Timm's whole oeuvre from the mid-90s.
I'm going to be on there one day, and it's going to be real good.
We'll get you. I know. I mean, we've been asking people about it, and I think you listed a bunch of episodes. They're all Justice League Unlimited, or almost all of them are.
Justice League Unlimited is my heart.
Which is going to be we're very excited for it, and it's going to be in 3 years or something. But
that's fine. I'll wait. Listen, if I get to talk about Booster Gold, I'll wait forever.
Okay. So, and that's on the Audio Entropy podcast network. So we go audioentropy.com. You can find us and a bunch of other stuff. And I also intermittently play on another role-playing podcast called Roll for Your Lives. We're playing a game of Dungeon World right now. I say playing it right now because we've been playing it for 9 months, once a month or something. They're not super diligent, but it's fun. And just Google Roll for Your Lives. I'm not sure what
I'll have links
is.
in the show notes.
There you go. That's a good idea. Otherwise, I got a Twitter. I got a SoundCloud. The end.
Yeah, we'll cover that stuff. We'll cover that at the end.
Okay.
Cool. So we're playing Don't Rest Your Head this week, and I am super excited about it. It is a game about a weird cityscape that is and isn't at the same time. It exists in the corner of your eye. And it is what happens when you wake up to that. And it is spooky and weird, and I'm real excited. So why don't you introduce your character this week, and go ahead and describe as one of the character creation questions. Introduce your character, tell us who they are, what they're like, and at the very end, tell us what just happened to them.
Okay, my character is a young paperboy named Randy Thompkins. And Randy is he's a little kid who's got his paper route. And one of the first questions they ask you in character creation is what's been keeping you awake? Because that's the situation. That's the whole reason you're part of this. And so Randy, being a paper boy, trying to make that paper, different kinds of paper, Randy kind of just started staying up later and like waking up earlier and earlier to get his hustle on. And that just sort of continued to the point where the two sides met and Randy just sort of stopped going to sleep. Because even though, your papers only get delivered at a certain time, like only so early, like Randy would still get up and kind of like go patrol the neighborhood and look out for hazards and antagonists for the night. And so Randy is he's an average doofus. He's a dorky kid. He's not socially maladjusted, but he doesn't have a ton of friends because he's he lives with just his mom, kind of moves around a whole lot. So he doesn't he's not from where he is now, and he doesn't have a ton of close kids his age that he's tight with. But Randy has been working the paper route to kind of help his mom, saving money to help out. But he also kind of has the ulterior motive of saving up money so he can get the fuck out of there later,
that
Mom.
Makes sense.
Yeah, that's kind of like that's a little less noble than the kid who's just saving up money to help his mom, make rents. But he's got this vision of life. Maybe life with Dad would be better, and so he's kind of fixated on that. And as for what just happened, well, Randy just had some sort of interaction, typical for his paper route delivery, interaction with a local bully who came up to ruffle his fucking feathers and maybe bonk him on the noggin. And this time it didn't quite go so well for the bully.
Yeah. So what happens is you're scouting out the neighborhood. I imagine this is like suburbia. Maybe it's like on the edge of a city.
Yeah.
Sort of where city and suburbia start to blur together.
Yeah.
And you're scouting out the houses that aren't currently on the paper route to figure out like how to get them on the paper route. And you turn down like a court, and from between two houses, Huck Crawford comes strolling out.
Huck Crawford. Oh boy, oh boy.
Huck Crawford. Huck comes out, and, he's got his dirty shirt with stains that could be blood, could be barbecue sauce. We're not really sure. And he's got the 17-year-old pube stash and a little bit of a mullet. And he's like, comes strolling out, and he's punching, and he's like, you collecting on your little baby paper route kid? I think it's time you paid your protection money.
Fuck. And I'm already kind of this is nothing new. I'm looking around like, all right, anyone else on the road right now?
It is just the two of you, and you're on a bike and he's on foot, so you could probably duck him.
And like, Huck, fuck you. And I'm going to immediately kick off and begin cycling away from Huck.
So you start cycling, and you're ducking and weaving. You're going down these empty like 3 a.m. streets, and he's running behind you, and he's keeping up with you pretty well for a kid on foot. And you turn down one of these, like, there's a real secluded alleyway walkway, and it's only about like 8 to 10 feet wide, and it's this little like cobblestone-ish walkway that connects to like the main thorough street in the development and the school. And so you turn down this alleyway because you figure if you can get to the school, there's probably a janitor or something.
Yeah.
So you turn down, and he turns after, and you see him. He doesn't turn after. So you turn down. He runs. You look back. He's run straight. You've dodged him. You stop. You look ahead, and you realize there's no walkway that connects the school to the main road.
Whoa.
You've been on this road a dozen times. There's no walkway.
I know it like the back of my hand. I got a route. I mean, Okay.
And you look back, and suddenly you don't see the main street of you don't see Graceland Street. You look ahead, you don't see the schoolyard. You just see pathway and pathway.
Okay.
And they both look about the same. So you just keep going.
Yeah. Probably fidget a moment with I kind of like look back and I probably at this point sort of I check my reflectors. I'm like sort of like a patting myself down sort of situation, and then cycle on.
Yeah, you keep going, and you cycle for feels like hours. You're just pedaling. You get off and walk for a little while. You get back on when you're feeling a little better. You pedal a little further. You come out, and you're on a main thoroughway street or thoroughfare street, but it's way more urban and way more populated than Graceland Street was, and it's not the schoolyard. You're on a city street that is bustling with people.
Whoa.
Somebody in a 3-piece suit with a fedora and a suitcase kind of like shuffles past you and sort of like knocks your bike a little bit.
Huh.
Somebody in like a neon tank top with like Geordie LaForge visors goes the other direction and knocks your bike as well. And you look around and that alleyway's not there anymore. Now it's just an alleyway between two city buildings. And you can see to the other side, and it's just more of these city streets.
Holy cow.
You don't know quite where you are, but you know that you gotta get home, and finish your paper out if you're gonna get the money to get out of here.
Okay.
If you want to get out of here at all.
Yeah, I think right now, I'm just, my thought is just the paper route where I got to deliver my papers.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm probably I'm going to stay off the bike, walk beside the bike, kind of stick to the side as much as I can, as I do in most times in busy areas. But I'm trying to, this is the part where I suddenly become more adolescent, and I'm thinking, who's in charge here? Where is this person who can help me?
Okay, I'm gonna ask for a roll.
Okay.
And we're gonna go through the mechanic. So the way that rolls work, the way that actions work, and don't rest your head, is you have a number of dice split into 3 varieties. You have discipline dice, which are your basic skills, your faculties, your ability to do things well. You have 3 of those. You start with 3. You may lose them over time. You have a number of exhaustion dice. This represents the amount that you have pushed your body past its sleepless limit. You have none of these at the start. And you have madness dice, which is how far the unnatural nature of where you are and your situation have pushed you beyond the brink of what is normal. You also have none of these. You roll your 3 dice. As many madness dice that you might want to add to this. Mm-hmm. You may choose to up your exhaustion by 1 if you choose to. You don't have to. And you're going to roll 2 pain dice, which are the dice that I add into a situation to represent failure and to represent you getting hurt.
Okay.
So you're going to start with 3 discipline dice and 2 pain dice. You may choose to add madness or exhaustion dice accordingly.
Okay. I think I think I'll throw in one madness die. Is that a thing?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. I feel like this is just crazy enough, and I was like,
right.
Madness kissed. Okay. I'll go ahead and roll that.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay. So, looking at the dice, you won with a degree of 0. Which means that your successes, your numbers 1, 2, and 3 on your dice, perfectly match my pain dice. The number, the 1s, 2s, and 3s that I got. Because of this, and so on ties you win. You get a degree of 0, which means you scrape by.
With neither of us getting any successes.
Yeah. And the other thing that's important is whichever dice pool you rolled on, whichever has the highest number, that is the dominant thing, and that determines the nature of what happened. Like, that determines your emotional reaction to the things that happen. So your high number is discipline, which means your discipline is dominant, which means you retain your faculties. You keep your wits about you.
Okay.
You keep your cool. So what happens is you're looking around, and a face sort of pops around a corner and smiles at you and greets you and says young boy, you appear to be lost. And you look at him for a minute, and it's a face that you kind of vaguely, offhandedly recognize from that art class where they taught art history for a session.
Yeah.
And you don't fully, you weren't fully paying attention, but you remember his weird mustache. And it was next to the picture of the painting clocks, and you're like, that's
that
what was
clock
that dude's
guy.
name? It's the clock guy.
Dr. Clocks.
And he peeks around, and his body is loose and floppy, almost like it's liquidy and melting. And he pops around and says, young boy, you appear to be lost. Is there a problem? Where are you trying to get to?
Sir, my name's Randy. I live nearby. I was heading to the school to Brookhaven High. I'm trying to trying to somehow find words that don't say I don't know where I am. But,
you say Brookhaven High, and he says, "Oh yes, we're all near Brookhaven High. Of course, we're all miles away, hemispheres away, really, continents away. We're right next door. It's very complicated. And things are different in the Mad City.
Mad City.
I'm sure you understand."
Yeah. The Mad City. But pretend that I don't.
And he looks at you, and his face frowns, and it drops down like a cartoon. It droops. He says, Oh, you poor child. Yes, help, come. We need to get you home. We need to get you back to the slumbering city before 13 o'clock, because it's not good for someone like you to be around at 13 o'clock. And at that moment, he starts to take you, he heads toward a door.
Mm-hmm.
This little green door that you swear you recognize from outside of your school, like a groundskeeper's shed door or something. Nobody's ever been in it. They say it's haunted, but he takes you towards this door, and at that moment, where do you keep your newspapers?
Let's say I have a ratty messenger bag situation.
Okay, that's exactly what I was hoping, because so at that moment, from the shadows, he starts to walk you, and he's like, yes, we got to get you out of here before 13. Oh dear, it's the paper boys. And two figures from the shadows leap out, and one of them grabs starts to try to grab some of the papers from your bag.
Whoa. Okay, here, this is you're messing with my money. Okay, I just grab on back and tug of war.
All right, yeah, so make me a roll for that. The pain is going to be because there are two of them. There are two of these figures from the shadows that you haven't gotten a great look at yet.
Uh-huh.
So the pain is going to be 4.
Okay.
You're rolling your 3 discipline. You can add as many madness dice or up your exhaustion accordingly.
Let's say that I'll up my exhaustion by 1. Well, that's how it always is. Up's right. You increase it by 1 each time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and up my exhaustion by 1, and then throw in 2 madness dice.
Okay.
Let's do it, baby.
And then just let me know what your result is.
Okay. I won with a degree of 3 with madness dominant.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, good. Great. Okay, yeah. So 3 is... So you've rolled 3. So you've succeeded with a degree of 3, which means you are extraordinarily successful.
Okay.
So, describe to me... So describe to me how you extraordinarily, almost superhumanly protect your papers.
Okay, I think that I think that I know, like I said, it's a ratty messenger bag. So I think I like grab the bag itself and like unhook the strap in one sort of quick motion so as to, you know, like pull the bag with the papers towards me and have the paperboy like comically tumble backwards holding the strap and like losing the weight.
So yeah, that's exactly what happens. You do that, the paperboy tumbles away, but suddenly from the shadows a third rolls out and comes, and you look around and the clock man, the painting man, the man that was taking you to the door is gone. Just gone.
Ugh.
And that's when madness takes over.
Oh.
You may choose one of your 3 response boxes.
Okay.
Check off one of your 3 response boxes and tell me which one you choose.
Okay, so I have 2 flight and 1 fight box. I think right here, I freak, and this is flight.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to say what happens then is, before you even realize what's happened, you've taken off running. You've left the bike behind.
My wheels!
But you've taken off running. You've jumped, like, you see a fire escape, and you jump onto the fire escape, and you start climbing. And suddenly, way sooner than you thought, you kind of thought that you were only going to go, like, a floor or 2 up, and then maybe knock on a window or something. You weren't quite thinking clearly, but suddenly, like, within a floor or 2, you're on the roofs.
Mm-hmm.
And you're looking around, and there's this landscape, right, of all doors and windows and crevasses and buildings sort of leaning to each other. You swear you see a plane's wing just crushed in between 2 buildings, just jutting out. And you're looking around, and all of these roofs are sort of connected, but you have to jump between some of them, but they look a lot closer than they should. You could probably make these jumps. And you look around, and it's just roofs and fire escapes and ceilings everywhere you look. And it's wide open, and you feel like you can see everywhere in the city from here.
Yeah.
You feel like you could see anywhere from here if you tried.
Okay. I'm thinking like I have to be able to, you know, get a vantage point like on home, on school, on like if I can see everything from up here, like I just need to find the right direction to go.
Yeah. Make me a roll for that, and then as you're kind of looking around, the clock bells begin to chime, and you count them, and it's ding, 1, 2, eventually 9, 10, 11, 12. And then they stop.
Okay.
And you're like, that's not quite right. And you're like, that's weird. I was out at like 3:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
But it's 12 o'clock. 13 o'clock comes in an hour.
Oh no. Oh. This is sort of like vaguely registering both readily accepting it, but also just sort of like, okay, yeah, okay.
So yeah, make me a roll until as you sort of survey the area and see if you can kind of see a familiar way back.
Okay, what should I do for pain on here?
We'll call this pain. This is an unfamiliar place, but There's nobody necessarily around, so I'll give it 3. 3's probably easy. Maybe 2. We'll make it 2. This is pretty easy.
Okay. I'm going to drop down to just the 1 madness die. So I got the 3 discipline, 1 exhaustion, because that stays with me.
Yeah, that lingers.
And then the 1 madness. I feel like I always got to have some madness. It's Mad City.
It's a weird situation.
All right. Okay. I won with a degree of 4, but pain is dominant.
Okay. And pain dominates regardless of the outcome. The situation exacts a price on the protagonist. This is a case of a loss. The loss may well be a price. In case of a victory, the victory may take something out of the victor. Okay. Yeah. So, at 4 successes, you have passed the bounds of reality.
Ooh.
Right? You're looking and you see the roof of the school is a few roofs away, and it's surrounded by buildings, but you know that the school is in a big empty field. Yeah. There's no buildings around it, but you see the school. You can tell. Despite the fact that you've never been on the roof, you know the school. You know that. There it is, right there.
You space for the track and the football field.
Yeah, there it is, right there. It's 2 blocks away. And you're looking and you see I could probably make these jumps. It's right there. You've pinpointed exactly where the school is. However, at that moment, I take a coin of despair.
Oh, that sounds lovely.
Yes. So what that's going to do is I'm allowed to do terrible things later. But one thing other to point out is you also have a coin of hope, which gives you some abilities to make things better for yourself. But when you do so, I believe I take that coin. Let me just double check.
Oh, is it like a coin a coin of despair used as a coin of hope to me and a coin of hope to you?
Yeah.
Or what?
Yeah.
And so.
That's exactly what it is. And then if pain dominates, I add a coin to the economy. So you have a coin of hope, which does a few things. You can get a break, which reduces your current exhaustion by 1 or removes a check mark from your fight or flight responses. Okay. You may also restore discipline, which if you have a snap, if your madness takes over, you lose discipline dice, or if you fall asleep. You may restore discipline points with that. Or you can, on any roll, spend 1 coin to add 1 to your success, to increase your degree of success.
Okay.
Or, pull success from the jaws of failure. But coin of despair lets me make your rolls measurably worse.
All right.
Yep. Okay, so what happens, pain takes over because you take a newspaper to the back of the head. And you're and just, the shock of it completely throws you off. But just whap right in the back of the head. You're hit with the signature, the telltale bulk of a newspaper. You know how much the newspapers weigh, and this is a newspaper.
I know exactly what a newspaper sounds like hitting any type of material.
Yeah, and this is newspaper meeting skull.
Yeah.
You stop and you're rubbing the back of your head, and you look down, and there's a newspaper and at your feet.
All right. Probably I sort of check my bag and sort of.
It's not one of yours. It's actually much older. This looks like old. This is not paper that they make newspapers with anymore. This is newsy newspaper.
It's not newspaper. It's old paper.
Yeah, it's old paper. It's good.
Yeah, I definitely picked this sucker up. I got to see that headline.
All right. I mean, that's your call, I guess.
I'm a paper boy.
All right. So what it says, let me pull up exactly. Okay, yeah. So what happens is you pick it up. You're looking at it, and it says, Newsies begin organizing effort. Hearst furious. And you look back, and there are those same 3 paper boys. Those old-timey ones with the suspenders and the newsboy caps. And, covered in grease stains, are following you. And they're giving chase. And they're giving chase and they're grabbing newspapers and they're throwing them at you.
Right.
And they are directly in between you and the school. Like, they've come up a different set of ladders. They came through a different doorway or something, and they're standing directly in the middle, in between you and the school.
Okay. Okay, so drawing on my reserve of bullying experience, Randy is not one to, like, he knows that you like, when you make a break for it, like, you try and just do a beeline, like, that doesn't work. You don't get out of that one.
Right.
But now I've got a vast reserve of tactics to call on. So I think,
Sure.
I think I'm going to try in this Mad City, sort of like keep the school in my mind, like, that's where the school is. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I want to try and do some sort of, I've got like this idea of doing some sort of arcing path towards it.
Okay.
By running like in a big curved path that will take me away, so the newspaper boys will have to chase me.
That sounds, I like that. Okay, yeah, make me a roll for that.
Okay.
So you've got your discipline dice, you've got your 1 exhaustion dice.
Okay. What kind of pain are we talking?
This is 3 of them, so 6. 6 pain dice.
All right. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add another exhaustion die.
Okay.
And then 2 madness dice.
Okay.
All right, that's my gamble. All right, here we go. Oh, no.
What happened?
Pain 1 with a degree of 5 with pain dominant.
Ooh, okay. Failure. Your goals are turned on their ear while the opposition's goals are advanced.
Oh.
Failure in game terms means I can inflict a consequence upon you if I see fit. Okay. So, first thing that happens is I get another coin. I have another coin in my little bowl.
Your pain bank.
My pain bank is... I'm making that. I am the paper boy now. I am making that paper. The next thing that happens is I get to choose what other thing hurts you. The other way you are hurt.
It's not enough, huh?
And I'm going to increase your exhaustion score by 1 more.
Okay.
And say, you're running. You're jumping. You're jumping, and you look down, and it looks like you've jumped, like, over a 4-lane main intersection. But it feels like you've just jumped over, like a little garden gnome or something.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's not normal. And you're running, and you look back, and you do know exactly where that school is, but you look back, and the school's not there. And now you're just tired. And you look, and the schoolboys are nowhere to be found. And then you hear a yell. And it's a real familiar yell. You hear Huck Crawford yell. And he just screams like, "Help! Who are you?" From down in one of these alleyways.
I think it's not instinct to help him. I think if it's not an easy thing. I'm not like a Russian throw, kind of like but he's in trouble now. Like it's a tough sort of decision, but I think I want to move towards it because I still, anything familiar is going to interest me right now. Mm-hmm. But I don't want to rush in and be just like thrust into whatever situation he's in.
Sure, that makes sense. I'm gonna ask for a roll then to like sneak in carefully.
Okay.
To move carefully. I'm gonna give you temporarily 2 discipline dice as he assists you.
Okay.
Actually, I'm going to roll 2 discipline dice real quick and see what I get.
Okay.
Okay. So, what happens is, you get... So, roll your dice, and whatever you get, up the degree of success by 1, or reduce the degree of failure by 1.
Okay. All right. What is the pain for my sneaking mission?
The pain for this is going to be 6.
Ooh, Huck, what you got yourself into, huh? All right. I'm gonna stay at, actually, I'm getting buck wild. I got 3 exhaustion, 3 discipline, and let's do 3 madness too. Why not?
Okay. All right.
Symmetry, baby. All right. I'm looking at, I won with a degree of 8, but with pain dominant.
Okay. So, you start to climb down. You there's a staircase. There's just a full-on staircase. It's this curving marble staircase. You start to walk down it.
Oh, how luxurious.
Those paper boys have cornered Huck in an alleyway. And they're jabbing him. They're saying, "Where's your friend? He stole our papes. Where is he? He's one of these roof rats. Where's he at, you roof rat?" And he's like, "What are you talking about? What the hell is a roof rat?" And they're jabbing him. And they're like, they're pulling at his shirt. And it's the same way that people pulled at your shirt. And it's the same way that... And they're like spitting on him in the same way that people spat on you. And you feel... You don't fully... It doesn't fully click. You don't even fully realize that your fists are starting to clench. You don't even fully realize that you've started to move a little faster. I'm going to ask you to mark off your fight response.
Let's do it.
So describe to me what happens next. As you're moving down this staircase. You're seeing all this happening.
In a way that doesn't quite make sense to me, because even I can just sort of like detachedly say like Huck deserves it. Mm-hmm. I start clenching my fist and like moving in closer, which is rare with a runner that I am, but I think just enough to I'm gonna grab into my bag, think of the last house on my usual route, and pull out a paper and say, "I'm sorry, Mrs. Jimenez." I'm gonna give it a kiss, and I'm gonna hurl that paper at
that's beautiful.
The paper boy that's jabbing Huck. And
so you got a degree of 8. So I'm not even gonna ask for a roll for this. You do that. You throw it at the one that's the kid that's in the lead. He's a little taller than the rest. Just the same way the paper cracked you in the skull, this one cracks him in the skull. He just goes down. Furthermore, the paper, it cracks, it flies, it cracks, it like flies up, it hits the fire escape above, comes back down, takes out takes out a second kid, ricochets off of his head, takes out the third kid. All 3 of them are down. Huck is looking around. Tears are in his eyes, like his cheeks are stained with tears. And he's looking around, and he looks up at you, and he just like slowly puts his hands up and says, "I'm sorry."
That's right, Huck. I've got superpowers now.
And Huck is like, "Can we go home now?"
We'll try if you don't screw it up for me.
All right, whatever. Fine. And at that moment, like, he kicks, his foot taps another one of these paper boys' papers. He kicks and he looks down. And he unfurls it. And you can't see what's on the paper, but boy, do you wish he didn't unfurl it.
Oh, no.
And he reads it, and he says, "2 slain in Paperboy What's that? And you look at it, it says retaliation.
It says retaliation, Huck.
Retaliation. Huck Crawford and Brandy Thompkins attacked by a mob of Paper boys.
I act immediately. I like instinctual karate chop like through the paper, and then like
Great.
grab Huck by the scruff of his shirt and try and fucking like book it.
Okay, run. Go ahead and make me a roll for this. This is going to be very difficult, because once something is printed on a paper, it is very difficult to shake it off.
Okay.
This is going to be pain of 10.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
You've got 3 exhaustion, 3 discipline, and however many madness you want to do. You also have your exhaustion talent and madness talent if you can come up with a way to use them.
Okay.
But I don't know that either one is going to super apply here, but it might. I mean...
Yeah, I don't know that they well, let's see. I'll try and keep an open mind. All right, I'm just throwing caution in the wind. I'm throwing 5 madness bones.
Okay.
All right. Player 1 with a degree of 3, but with madness dominant.
That makes sense. You're going to check off your third response. If you have another, if madness dominates one more time.
That's when I snap.
That's when you snap. But for right now,
well, this is a flight.
yeah, this makes sense. This makes perfect sense. You are running.
Yeah.
You're running, and furthermore, you're running particularly well because you immediately see the silhouettes of faces above you as paper boys. Some of them dressed in that like period attire. Some of them wearing the same thing you're wearing. Some of them wearing real specifically a blue T-shirt, backwards yellow baseball cap, and like khaki shorts. Some of them, and they're just like popping up, and they're from all different times and places, and they're just jumping down, and there's more of them than you can count. There's a lot more than 3.
Good Lord.
You're just booking it. You run. You turn down the alleyway, and it's the same alleyway, but it's a right angle turn. You come out into this big open street. You see a clock. 12:30.
Oh.
The melty painting man looks at you and waves and sort of is like, gives you a thumbs up like, you doing all right?
I think at this point it's kind of comical exasperation.
And he kind of nods. He understands. You run. You're running. You're in a bazaar now. You're in an open air market, and there's all sorts of weirdly dressed people selling things, handing off like hair dolls and little tchotchkes and knickknacks. You're running between tables. You're not sure which way is forward, but you're just running. Forward is the way that you're running, and even if it's not the right direction. Paper boys are knocking over tables. But eventually, like, that causes some of the merchants to like start grabbing them and shooing them away. You get into safety. You're in this giant open air market. You're no closer to school, or at least you don't think so. You might be. You don't know. You and Huck are safe, though. You've managed to defy the paper, which is not easy.
Whoa. Okay. I'm sure the momentous occasion is not fully appreciated for someone 30 minutes into the Mad City. But, okay. That's flight. Regardless of how much it makes sense, I think this is a point where it's like, Huck, how did you get in?
I was... Full disclosure, I was chasing you to beat you up and take your money.
Yeah, big shocker.
That hadn't changed. And I thought maybe that you had hidden in Mrs. Jimenez's garage. But then I realized when I ran into her garage, and it led me into like a city street, that she didn't have a garage. And that's when I kind of wandered for a while. I met Salvador Dali. Did you meet him?
Okay. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Like if you had given me a multiple choice, I could have gotten that, I think.
Did you not pay attention in the art history class? It was fascinating.
Huck, don't start revealing new layers of yourself to me right now, okay? I'm not primed to appreciate your intellect. We need to get home, and we're gonna do it. I'm gonna get us home. I need my bike. Where is that bike?
A vendor. Big fat guy, like crook nose, leans over. You looking for your bike, Mr. Thompkins?
How? Yes. Have you seen my bike?
He wheels it out. Pristine. Never even got dropped when you ran. Perfect. Looks nicer than it. Polished, repainted.
I know that it's mine, but I like reach for it and probably like then look at him like not saying it, but like, can I take this from you? Can I just sort of take this?
He kind of pulls it back a little bit. Well, I mean, this is a market. I am a seller.
I have a job.
These are my wares. Oh, your money's no good here. This is sort of a trading situation. I'm going to need something. I don't know what.
You want Huck?
Memory.
You want
memory, a dream. No, I don't want Huck. Hey, screw you. I'm great. I don't know. I'm going to need a memory, something.
How does any particular one? I've got a few fair ones of me getting thrashed by this clown next to me that I'd be happy to part with.
What have you got in sort of the range of the last time you were happy at home?
The last time I was, well...
For that, I'll give you the bike, and I'll point you where your school is.
How do I know that you know where my school is?
He pulls out a piece of letterhead. It's from your principal, Mr. Jablowski. Talking about how Crawford, Mr. Crawford is an exceptional student with a real eye for art. He just has a temper that needs to be kept under control.
I'm not ready for this about Huck.
Pulls it out. Says is this your school? Brookhaven High?
Yeah.
I got this from the front office.
It is. So you went, okay.
It's a simple deal. Your last memory of the happy time you had at home, most recent, and a trinket to tie it to that. You get your bike, you know where the school is. You could probably get there before 13 o'clock.
I guess the last time that I was happy, it was brief. I'm not totally unhappy. I guess my mom's never going to hear it. I guess I'll never.
This is strictly between you, me, and Huck. Come, what the hell? What did I do to you?
Kind of angle myself so as to minorly exclude Huck.
He kind of throws up his hands and turns around. The fat man leans in and stroking his outermost chin.
It sounds, well, a couple Christmases ago, my mom, she managed to buy me, she bought me a Nintendo. And I know how, and in that moment, I remember feeling as though it was the happiest that I had been in years and the happiest that I ever could be. And I just immediately the moment was so sharp that when I thought about it afterwards, I felt like the only happiness, like the thing that would make the only happiness I could gain where I was now would be like superficial happiness from finally buying a thing, because I don't have many things. And I don't know. That's
he hands you the bike. He says, "Perfect. It's exactly what I wanted." But I do need the trinket, and you feel a weight in your back pocket.
Yeah.
You pull it out, and it is a Wiimote. I'll take it.
My Wiimote. It's with a nunchuck attached.
No, but it is a Wiimote Plus. I'll take it.
If I must part with it. Yeah. Okay, I hand this over with more pomp and circumstance than it really needs, but I'm still feeling somewhat emotional, and sort of like I'm handing over a Excalibur.
Suddenly, the bike falls into your hands. The table was never here.
Whoa. I turn around hoping that Huck is no longer there.
No, Huck is still standing there.
God damn it.
Huck is now very confused because the table is gone, but he also turns to you. He's like, You want a Wii? Can we maybe hang out and play Wii sometime? Like, that sounds cool.
Why would I tell you about my Wii? God damn it.
Fair. Fair. That was presumptuous of me. I'm sorry for eavesdropping.
Wireless controllers nowadays, so easy to steal. Get on my pegs, Huck. We're booking it out here.
All right, fine. You hop on, you start riding. And sure enough, you can see the school. Like, it's going to take a few turns, but you can see it in your mind's eye real clearly.
Okay.
But that doesn't help a whole lot when more of these paper boys start dropping in. It's going to be the ride of a lifetime.
Okay.
And it's going to take some clever navigation.
Okay.
It's going to take some real foresight and some real understanding of how to navigate the city.
I think I could you probably tap into some sort of foresight.
I think you could. So go ahead and make me a roll to navigate around and evade these paper boys. I'm going to say it is a pain of 8.
Okay.
Four of them are descending upon you.
Okay. I'm gonna try and drop this. I'm waffling on my madness number. I can't snap now, baby.
Well, what you could do, but you could shed light and clear one of your boxes.
Oh yes, I have one hope coin, correct?
Yes.
One coin of hope. I think right now I'm gonna take that coin of hope and literal or not, flip it off my thumb, and flick it through the air.
All right.
And so I'm gonna uncheck one of my flight boxes, and I'm gonna go ahead and roll 4 madness dice. So 3 through 4. Okay. Player 1 with a degree of 5 with madness dominant.
Okay, so which response did you clear off?
I cleared off one of my flights.
Okay, so yeah, you're just blind running. However, with a degree of 5, you break even the laws of reality, and with the madness that you used, you can freely use your madness power if you choose to.
I will use it, yes.
All right.
Early edition, trademark.
So, you start running. You start racing. You're dodging and weaving. You are panicking. Huck punches a newsboy in the nose. And he's like, yeah, that's for earlier. Nobody bullies me. I bully them.
Use your powers for good, Huck.
And you pull into an alley, and briefly, you see the paper boys run by in the same way that Huck did earlier. And you're like, well, how do we get to the school? How do we get there?
Mm-hmm.
You pull out you feel that messenger bag is heavy on your side. You grab a paper to try and, like, toss it so you can ride a little more easily. And you look at it, and it's not a newspaper. On the front page, it says 2 minutes to 13 o'clock. Huck Crawford and Randy Thompkins safe at school with minutes to spare. And you see this map that they've laid out, like an infographic of, like, well, first they went here, and then they took a left turn, and it lays out this series of turns.
I got my Jeffy dotted line from Old Family Circus.
Yep.
Checking the funny pages.
And sure, like, it's like, oh, okay. And it's got little, like, info dots of, like, places around the line of, like, the paper boys tried to stage an ambush right here. And so you're following those instructions. Here's the dilemma.
Uh-huh.
And you have probably a few ways. I'm not going to require a roll for any of these, but you have a dilemma.
Okay.
You can't read the map and ride.
I press it into Huck's hands.
All right.
Say, call it out.
Huck is you're riding, and Huck is calling it out, and the two of you are making turns, and, like, the directions don't make sense, the distances don't make sense because it just none of it adds up.
Mm-hmm.
But sure enough, you pull onto. You turn. The final turn is you have to go through. Speaking of anachronisms, you pull into the back door of a fully stocked Blockbuster Video. And you race through it. A guy at the front tries to sell you some Raisinets, but you go through the automatic door, and you are in the schoolyard. And you look at that clock, and it says... Well, the clock here says 3:58. So only about 25 minutes in the slumbering city. But you know that surely 12:58 and 13 o'clock is minutes away.
Yeah.
And you just have to walk through the school doors, and you're there. You're back. But there's a line of paper boys standing between you and that schoolyard.
Uh-oh. Okay. This is the moment. There's no more flight. There's no way around. Gotta pull the trigger eventually.
So this is going to be a pain of... So what happens? It starts out very, like, there's a lot of them. But Huck, he smiles at you and he says, like, fuck it. And he runs and he just Superman punches a kid in the face. And starts walloping. And so a lot of them get taken out. 3 of them, I'll say 4 of them come at you, and you've got pain of 8.
Okay.
And you've got 3 exhaustion. 3 discipline. Any madness that you add to it.
Okay. I'm going to up my exhaustion by 1 to 4.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to stick with 4 madness.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And if I wanted to use my my exhaustion talent, would I call that out now, or like see how it plays out usually?
No, you can call it out now because I believe it gives you a tangible benefit. Let me double check that. But yeah, you call it out. You can call it out now.
Okay. I think at this point it's like I like take my messenger bag and throw it in like I've got a basket on the front as well for additional storage. And here I'm one with a bike. I just like start pedaling, and I both hands pull out 2 newspapers and just like hold onto these newspapers in order to try and batter paper boys away from me while riding no hands on the handlebars, baby.
Mm-hmm. All right. I am meanwhile going to cast a shadow.
Uh-oh.
So if your roll is, it's going to take out one of the 6s. If there's a 6 on the table, it's going to take it out. Otherwise, it's going to increase pain by 1.
Okay.
Increase likelihood of failure.
Okay.
But Yeah, so what happens, because you use your exhaustion talent, because you're using your supernatural throwing abilities, you're automatically also increasing things by 4.
By 4?
By 4 degrees. 4 degrees of success.
Okay.
So if pain wins by a degree of 4 or less, you win.
Okay.
And if you win, you do much better.
Okay. All right. About to roll. I think in my mind, I'm like running through this like spreadsheet of my customers. Like, nope, gonna have to write them. Sorry. Nope. Okay, gonna have to. Yep. I'm not gonna have a newspaper for them. Okay, I'll make it up to them. And I won with a degree of 8, according to the roller.
Okay.
But pain is dominant.
So that is actually 12. So what happens is, would you like to narrate it, or should I?
Go for it.
Okay, so what happens is, so Huck runs in and Superman punches a kid and gets overwhelmed basically immediately. Because he's fighting 6 kids at once.
You served your purpose, Huck.
But what happens is you start throwing papers, and the papers start bouncing off and taking out 2-3 kids at a time. You clear all of them with about maybe half a dozen, the last half a dozen of these papers that you had.
Uh-huh.
You just take them out. They're down. They're getting there. These papers are throwing like bricks. They're smashing noses. Kids are just going down cold. And Huck gets up, and he's bloody, and he's beaten down, and he's just like, that was pretty awesome. And starts running towards the school. And you hop on your bike, and you burst through those school doors. And you're right on the corner of Graceland and McHale. 4 a.m. You got a full stack of full messenger bag of papers on your side. Huck is standing directly in front of you, bloodied and beaten up. And he's looking around. And he just kind of wipes his nose. Clears off some of the dried blood.
Yeah.
His hand is shaking. And he looks at you and he says, all right. Later. And he starts just like Charlie Brown walking off.
All right. I think I kind of sit there for a moment. And then I yeah. And sort of I start pedaling in the other direction. And then I do a quick little loop. After I get the scene is not cut away, we're both in the same frame. I kind of do a little loop, come back and if you want to play Smash Bros sometime, just my route.
Yeah, all right, yeah, that sounds great. And he kind of smiles and perks up and kind of walks home with a spring in his step. And you feel warm as you pedal home. You feel great. It's been a hell of a morning. You're not sure you ever want to go through it again, but you feel all right. You pull up, and you pull up and you feel a little confused.
Yeah.
A little betrayed, honestly. You don't know why your mom would pick somebody else to deliver the morning paper.
Don't tell me there's a paper on that step.
There's paper on that front step. You pick it up?
I gotta pick it up.
I knew you would. Thompkins at large. Paperboy Union swears revenge. No one gets away, says Chief of Paperboys Union.
Oh, fuck.
And that's game.
Oh.
That was really good.
That was good.
That was a lot of fun. I like that a lot.
That was really cool. Yeah. I like this game.
I like this game a lot. This is neat. I needed to add the ending because you pain dominated, and I feel I needed to get some one last thing.
That was good. That was good.
That was awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you so much for playing this game with me. This was great.
Yeah, I super enjoyed it, Jeff. Thanks for having me, man.
Oh, this was a blast. So real quick, before we wrap up the show, where can people find your work online?
They can find it at go to audioentropy.com, and the podcast All Along the Watchtower is featured there. that DCAU Rewatch podcast. And then also go to Roll for Your Lives, something. I don't know why I tried to use a URL again. I already failed the first time. Yeah, Mitchell Dill on Twitter and SoundCloud. That's Mitchell and then Dill, like the pickle or herb. Yeah, that's where I'll be.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. This was a blast, and I am going to throw it over to me in the future so that he can wrap up with the show.
All right, cool.
Take it, future me. Thanks, past me, and thanks again to Mitchell for coming on the show. That game was creepy and weird and heartbreaking and funny, and I loved every minute of it. Be sure to check out All Along the Watchtower. It is a very good podcast discussing some very, very good and sometimes pretty weird and bad cartoons. You can find that on the Audio Entropy Network and in the show notes. You should also check out Roll for Your Lives. It is a collection of really talented people playing some really fascinating games, and I can't recommend it enough. You can find a link to that in the show notes. Finally, be sure to follow Mitchell on Twitter at MitchellDill. Then while you're on Twitter, follow us at Party of One Pod, like the show on Facebook at facebook.com/partyofonepodcast. If you love the show, consider leaving us a nice iTunes review, social media shout-out, or word-of-mouth recommendation. All of these things help the show find new audiences and grow bigger, better, and cooler. If you want to hear more from me, consider checking out All My Fantasy Children, the podcast where Aaron Catano and I take your listener prompts and turn them into beautiful, thriving, vibrant role-playing game children. This week, we have created Rhinal the Forest Fighter. It's a cool kobold druid. It is a really cool story, and there's some fascinating additions to the All My Fantasy Children fantasy lore. Check that out at soundcloud.com/allmyfantasychildren. Party of One is produced and edited by Jeff Stormer and Jen Frank. All music for the show comes from the song Infinite Lives by Megaran, featuring the D&D Sluggers. If you'd like to inquire about advertising rates or about coming onto the show, shoot me an email at partyofonepodcast@gmail.com. Thank you for listening. Remember to fight the forces of fascism every single day. And party on.
Never gonna die.